Yo, 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 what is good? It is your boy BQ here. Live stream for y'all tonight because I'm not available tomorrow night. Waiting for a couple other people to hop in here, but thank you for joining your boy BQ with the Impact Lounge, number one place to be for the Impact Wrestling fan. Just waiting a couple more minutes here and we're going to get it cracking. I am not available tomorrow night to podcast to record. Obviously, I've been trying to stream the last couple weeks. Hasn't really worked out too well. I'm not available to podcast. So, giving it to you guys tonight, right after Impact. And seems like we got a couple of y'all in here. Just to keep it real with you guys, I'm not going to be reading the comments as you guys are posting. So I hope that you guys just speak with each other, enjoy each other's company here at the lounge, and we're going to get right into the episode of Impact. So you know me, I'm going to turn this mic down just a little bit for you guys. You know me, I'm not really the type that's going to sit here and talk about my week, talk about all that goodish. Let's get into Impact. Let's get it cracking. Again, thanks for being here. All right, so Impact kicks off, and remember, this is the Impact Lounge. If you are checking me out for the first time, make sure you subscribe here to the channel, number one place to be. So we kicked it off, Ken Shamrock and Michael Elgin in the ring, having a little promo. Now, I'm not going to lie, when I turn on the TV, I don't know why. I was confused that we're in a pandemic or something. I completely forgot there was going to be no crowd in this thing. So with that being said, I'm not a major fan of promos in the ring, and as long as I've been doing this podcast and streaming for you guys at the lounge, I've never been cool with opening a night off with promo or anything like that. I like to get into the action. I think that when you kick it off talking like that, I think it gives people an excuse to turn off the television. So now with here, Ken Shamrock is kind of giving his props to Sami Callihan. Sami Callihan didn't tap out, so this was something we were really not concerned, but we were curious about. Did Sami actually lose this match? Now, he didn't really lose the match, but I guess he lost the match. So I'm not really one of those people who likes this whole passing out from pain thing, because I don't think it's realistic. This is something that they started doing several years ago to avoid somebody having to tap out. I'm not really big on that. I don't think it's realistic. I know when I'm in pain, I'm not going to pass out. As a matter of fact, when I go to bed at night and if I have a body part that hurts or I have a headache, I'm not going to fall asleep because it hurts so much. It's actually probably going to keep me up. So I'm not really cool on the way that they finished it. I think a lot of you guys really weren't cool, weren't really big on the way they finished the match. I wasn't really super into this promo, but with that being said, I like the direction Shamrock took it, where he said, we can either say, hey, we can shake hands, or we can say, hey, on to the world title, and I kind of liked where that was going, because the last thing I really wanted to see was these two guys fight again. I didn't really have interest when the match was announced initially, and I don't really have interest in seeing it again. So I kind of liked where they were going with it, where it's like, okay, shake hands, the match is over, we put each other through hell, let's both now focus on the world title. Michael Elgin comes down, so now the promo is just continuing to go longer and longer in the ring. I'm giving Michael Elgin props for what he's been doing promo-wise. I've said in the past that some of his promos kind of sound the same, especially when it comes to Eddie Edwards. He's being a lot more engaging now, and I'm enjoying what he's doing promo-wise, and there was a whole brawl and everything. At least we got some answers to where Sami said, well, OVE has been holding me back. So, we got some kind of answers there. I was kind of hoping OVE was going to get involved in the segment, not to muddy it up with too many people, but I want to know, where is this going with OVE? We're going to get to that in a little bit, but I think sooner than later, we need to know what's going on with Ohio versus everything. Josh and Madison are on commentary again. Little knock I have on this because my theme the last couple of weeks has been go all in. And that's been the Impact theme. That was their theme for Rebellion Night 1, go all in. Josh and Madison clearly wearing the same outfits as they have been the last couple of weeks. And we're presenting Impact as it is a live product. We know that it's not a live product, but you want to present it as a live product, especially since there are 4 other live wrestling shows on TV now with Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and AEW. I don't know who's taping what with everything going on right now, but in general, we know that these are live broadcasts. So, Madison actually looked amazing, but what I'm saying is clearly they had the same outfits on, so it's a little tough for us to get lost in that. But overall, I'm not going to harp on the commentary like I normally do, but I actually thought the commentary was really good. Madison is getting better each week. She's getting more enjoyable to listen to. She's got good humor down. She's, natural. And every time that Josh asks her something stupid or says something stupid, she basically calls him on it. So it's a really good heel dynamic as long as they're not focusing too much on, their little inside jokes that Josh kind of tries to go that direction, but Madison's been doing a good job steering out of that. And, this kicks off. We're still not getting any matches at this point for the first, 15 minutes or so. Big mistake in my opinion. But Chris Bay has a backstage segment where I guess you could say he is announcing that he is he's the self-proclaimed number one contender for the X Division Championship. One of my criticisms with Rebellion when they announced this 4-way match was, what are these guys fighting for? It sounds like they're fighting for nothing. There's nothing wrong. It's very easy to just say, hey, these guys are fighting for the number one contendership. Why couldn't they have done that? No reason you can't do something like that. But I don't know if it really was a number one contendership match or Chris Bay was just saying he's the number one contender. But he challenges Willie Mack. Willie Mack, of course, immediately responds because, again, everything is clearly taped. They're not delivering it like it's a live product at all. Willie Mack responds, and he needs a lot of work on his promos, but I thought this one sounded better than he has the last couple of weeks, to be frank. So we get our first match of the evening finally. It is OVE, and they're taking on Triple XL. I've said this before, that Triple XL theme is hot. That is an amazing song. It fits them. They have a good presence when they come down. They're not, another company could have easily made this a comedy act. And they're not a comedy act. And I like when they both wear black. I like when they match each other. They've done that for the most part the last few matches. Sometimes AC comes out in some like purple or blue or something like that. I like to see them look alike. I like when tag teams look alike. I've been pretty impressed with Triple XL so far. Initially, when they had signed these guys, I didn't have a whole lot of interest in them. But especially Larry D, I think, is really, really good. He's been really enjoyable to watch. And you could tell he's been doing this for a long time. Even though he hasn't done a whole television thing, he's been doing this for a long time. He makes it look good. And this is versus OVE. This is Madman Fulton and Jake Chris. So I was thinking, maybe, just maybe OVE wins this match. Because if Dave is involved in the match, and I hate saying this because I'm a Dave guy, but when they put Dave in the match, that usually means they're going to lose. I mean, they lose anyway, but Dave, for the most part in the last year, has been like the guy who takes the fall. He's like the guaranteed, okay, OVE is going to lose this match. When you put Fulton in there, it's like, oh, maybe they have a chance of actually winning this thing. But they didn't. They absolutely didn't. The positive I'm going to say about this is that this has been the best OVE match we have seen in a while as far as a 2-2 tag team match, something that wasn't involving Sami Callihan. I really do think that. I think a lot of their matches have been really quick, and every time they wrestle, they're going to lose, and they did once again. But at least they're beginning to tell the story that someone else may come lead OVE going forward. That being said, I'm seeing a lot of comments on my uploads on Twitter, where people are saying Eric Young should come lead OVE. Does he have any ties to Ohio at all? I mean, I know he's Canadian. I think he has the 90-day no-compete clause. While I totally expect he will come to Impact when it's all said and done, he does have that 90-day no-compete clause, and OVE cannot afford to drag this thing out another 90 days. I understand it's taped and there's only so much you can do at once, but we got to get some movement on this OVE thing because, lose, 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 lose. Well, previously I had said, oh my God, there's no coming back from this. These guys are damn near buried. I do take that back because when you finally give them that manager, that valet, whatever it is you're going to give them, that is an opportunity to repackage them. But OVE's going to need, they're going to need like some kind of full-on repackage, in my opinion. Reason I say that is because if you look at Sami Callihan, he's repackaged, but he's also kind of not. It's still thumbs up, thumbs down. And when OVE came out tonight, thumbs up, thumbs down. They're Ohio versus everything. Sami Callihan's still yelling everything. So it just leads me to believe that somebody has to give. And I'm assuming more likely it'll be the team OVE. Maybe they get a new name. But if they can just go a new direction, not just start winning matches all of a sudden, but a new direction, a genuine direction, and a genuine attitude change. And if they get that leader, and it's a leader that makes them better on screen, makes us care more. Maybe it's a manager, maybe it's a valet, maybe it's another wrestler. We don't know, but someone has to come in and make this team matter. And we forget that they're a part of the tag team division. Every time we're talking, the tag team division, we're talking the Rascals and the North and, who else? TJP and Falaba. Then maybe throw Reno Scum in there. People forget Jake and Dave are part of this tag team division. And they're also former Impact champions. So I'm hoping we start getting some movement on this soon because they can't drag this out much further. But Triple XL, I wanted to, kind of give them props. As I said, I think they look really good so far. I think they've, every time they've been out there, they, for a couple guys who are new to television, I think they do a tremendous job. So, props to Triple XL. Even, the one thing I wrote here in my notes, even with interference, OVE loses. That's something that when it's basically a 3-on-2 match, there's no excuse. We get this evening, this episode of Impact for me just kicked off slow. Like it just, I was like, let's get something here, and I feel like that wasn't happening because right after we finally got that OVE match, which got some time, we go into the Impact flashback. It's Mick Foley versus Kurt Angle. I started Impact about 5 minutes late. I do this on purpose so that I can fast forward through this part of the night. And, this was just to piggyback off Kurt Angle being in the news. They've been doing this for quite a while now. So I've got nothing to say on it. Locker room talk with Madison Rayne. So Jessica Havoc is her guest. I've talked about this a little bit, probably a lot bit, especially on social media. Johnny Swinger adds nothing to this. I understand some people find him funny. Like, listen, folks, I grew up in the 90s. I mean, my teenage years were in the 90s. I'm 40. My teenage years were in the 90s. And I fully believe that 90s is our generation in that decade, I think is the greatest. I truly do, from music to what was the other thing? To movies, to sports, to television. I mean, everything. I'm so proud that I grew up in that era. There's when Johnny Swinger does I do kind of find that funny. But I think when it comes to this locker room talk, I think he adds nothing. I really do. so far there's been 2 episodes, and I don't expect locker room talk to go on very long. These kind of things never last. There's been 2 of these so far, and he just feels like he is doing his own thing. Like he's off to the side, especially the first episode. He was just, just doing his facial expressions and his movements, and it had nothing to do with the conversation that Kaylee Ray and Madison Ray were having. Madison Rain, I said Madison Ray. Had nothing to do with it. So it's a weird inclusion for me. I kind of wish he wasn't a part of it. And Lewis had said this on his podcast, that it feels like Johnny Swinger is a part of every fourth segment. He'll have a match. He'll be part of the Madison Rain thing, and then Willie Mack will have something for the X Division. Whether he's getting ready for a match or a promo or something, and then here this dude is again. Like it's like he wrestles. We see him on TV more. Obviously now it's different, but I'm saying before the pandemic, we're seeing him on TV more than like Tessa Blanchard. It felt like, it felt like he was getting more screen time than just about everybody. More so than guys like TJP, and you know what I mean. You feel me on that? So I don't really like what he adds to it, but the locker room segment itself, locker room talk, I like it. I think and this is again little things, but I'm talking about going all in too. Madison wearing an outfit that has nothing, very different than what she was wearing earlier in the evening. At least later when Josh Matthews interviewed Moose, it was the same outfit. But, little thing. Madison Rain as a heel is, there's a lot of wrestlers out there who are better heels than baby faces. And most of the time, they're better heels than baby faces. Sometimes there's some who are better baby faces than heels, whatever. Madison Rain as a heel is light years beyond what she is as a baby face. Her Madison Rain as a baby face is a no-no. I hope they never bring her back to that ever again, because she kills it. She's always killed it, but like now, I just feel like she keeps getting better and better and better. And when she's a baby face, she is like the worst actress on the planet. But when she's a heel, she's really believable, really natural. And that's what I felt with this locker room talk. You bring Havoc on. Havoc doesn't speak a whole lot. So Madison kind of has to carry the conversation and does a really tremendous job of it. And Havoc talks a little bit, and she's, Madison's bringing up, well, Rosemary kicked your ass last week, which she didn't. Havoc was in control 80% of that match. But brings that up, gets her kind of pissed off, brings up Nevaeh. And I was hoping we were going to get some kind of follow-up on that this week, even if she just showed up at some point. You know what I mean? I would have liked to see her show up during the OVE match. That way we're at least wondering, okay, what is she here for? What's she going to do? But, it's whatever. It's clear she's not going to be involved with OVE. Maybe she is. I hope she is. But I don't feel like that's what they're showing us on television. I feel like it's definitely, they're definitely going to pair her up with Havoc, or have her go against Havoc. But they bring out Kimberly. Now, Kimberly does not like me, by the way. But she's the girlfriend of Zachary Wentz, I believe. And I was actually genuinely surprised by this one. I used to watch her a lot because before Allie came to Impact, Allie as Cherry Bomb was my favorite female wrestler on the Indies. So I was very familiar with the Kimber Bombs. I always felt that Allie was more put together, more developed, to move on to the next stage. And, obviously she did much earlier in the game. But, I think this is a really good addition, because along with Nevaeh and along with Kylie Ray, now you're bringing in some knockouts who have a little bit of name recognition. I don't mean that these are, huge names, but these are names people know. And I've said this in the past, that when it comes to the knockouts division, Impact has seemed to struggle with bringing in girls with no name value, or who haven't, made moves on the indies already. They've done better when someone comes in. They don't have to rename them. They don't have to, create a character for them. They show up with their character, That's why I thought Shotzi Blackheart would have done really well, because she came with a character. I thought Impact could have taken that exact one and done something with it. But usually when you have knockouts like that, they tend to do a good job. Kiera Hogan is the exception of someone who they've had to build up from scratch and do something with. But we've seen a few women come, even, Alicia Edwards is kind of a good example. I mean, she's been with the company for, 3 years now, and they still don't know how to get her out the gates as a wrestler. You know what I mean? So I think she's a good addition, Kimberly, along with Kylie and Nevaeh, because these are girls who already get it. They come with gimmicks, or they come with, attitude, and you don't have to coach them up a whole hell of a lot other than say, hey, this is how we do it for television. So, the knockouts division is looking really promising right now. I did a podcast a couple months ago where I was like, yo, we need more knockouts in this division, especially because we have several of them who don't wrestle. Go to impactwrestling.com, look at the knockouts division. There's a few girls who we don't see in the ring at all. At least 3 or 4. So really good signing. People, from what I saw, I was for the most part on Facebook tonight. People seem really excited about this. So good addition. Next match, or we get another match, and it is Johnny Swinger versus Suicide. So if I was watching Impact tonight for the first time, or for the first time in a long time, I don't think this episode would have grabbed me. I don't think it would have got my attention. I don't think it would have made me want to tune in next week. And we have to give them a pass a little bit, though, right? Because, they're in an empty arena. They don't have a full roster. So we got to give them a pass a little bit. Rebellion Night 1 for me was okay. Rebellion Night 2 was excellent. And this was okay for me, this episode in general. But I don't think they did a whole lot to, to really bring people in. And I think they have enough bodies available where you can put on a compelling program. And I don't know that they did that with this particular episode. But Johnny Swinger takes on Suicide. I had no interest in it. I want to bring up Suicide real quick, though, because people have been, speculating who this is. If you're just tuning in with me, because I'm, doing this by myself, I am not looking at the comments or anything. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being at the lounge. I said at the top of the show that I'm not available tomorrow to either stream or record. And that's usually Wednesdays, when I have been trying to get with TW to at least try to record. I know we've been having a lot of technical difficulties, but I have to be at work real early Thursday, so I'm not really available. So I thought, hey, I'm available tonight, so why not knock this out? Also, before I get into this, before what I was going to say about Suicide, my work schedule is finally changing on May 23rd. For the last year, I've been working a lot of 2 to 10 shifts, which is very difficult to get anything done, whether, for the, whether it's my personal life or for the Impact Lounge, because, during the week, I would take the kids to school. I'd get home about 8:10, and now I've only got 4 hours to, maybe do content, or to even do things like pay bills and run errands, So those 2 to 10 shifts were kicking my butt. When the Impact Lounge was really, really popping here on YouTube, I was working overnights. I would get off at 6 in the morning. I would come only sleep about 3 hours. And I'd catch up on sleep on my off days. But I'd sleep about 3.5 hours. And then I would get up, and I had my whole day to do what I needed to do. And when wrestling news came out, I was able to jump on it very quickly, as opposed to now where sometimes I'm jumping on it really late. So, I really truly feel that the Impact Lounge is going to start picking up and kind of getting back to where it was previously. To where, we really had some really good traffic going, and I was really on top of the news and all that good shit. So we're going to continue to give you the good news, to, touch on the rumors, give you guys the new, the good podcasts and everything. So make sure you stay locked in to the Impact Lounge. Subscribe if it's your first time here. So what I wanted to say was Suicide. A lot of people are saying, who was Suicide this time around? Here's something really interesting. I couldn't find it again for the life of me tonight. But on one of Caleb Conley's social media posts, he had said he was doing the Impact Wrestling tapings. Maybe I dreamt this. But I truly feel that a week or two ago, I saw in one of his social media posts, because he was talking something about wrestling, and I could have sworn he said he was doing the Impact tapings. But this doesn't look like him. Now the outfit's a little different than when he was Suicide, and then you can see hair coming at the bottom. And I was looking at a bunch of his pictures tonight, and I don't see anything to where he would have had hair coming out from there. So we're gonna figure out who his Suicide is. We're definitely gonna figure out who it is. If you know who it is, definitely hit me up. Let me know so I can put that information out there. But Swinger versus Suicide is what it was. I had little interest in it. And the right person won. Suicide won. And by defeating Johnny Swinger, he's going to challenge for the TNA World Championship versus Moose next week. So speaking of Moose, he has a little sit-down interview with Josh. And Moose, I keep saying this, everything Moose does is gold. Solid gold. And it's crazy to think when he came to Impact and he was at heel for a little bit, and then he was a babyface for a long time. Like, he was actually pretty boring as a babyface. And when he was announced as the number one contender for Austin Aries, people thought it was really forced. No one had interest in it. Now, when the match happened and everything after, it was great. It was amazing. But for the most part, at the time that it was announced, people had very, very little interest in it. And once he became a heel, boom, this dude takes off. Absolutely takes off. So he's cutting this, or not cutting a promo, but he's doing this segment with Josh where he feels like, and remember, I always talk about this, that he's been wrestling at TNA's past for a lot longer than they've acknowledged it on TV. He said, I've beaten former world champions. I've beaten Ken Shamrock. I've beaten RVD. I've beaten Rhino. Now it's all coming together. So he says, I'm the guy, I'm the champion now. Now, this was something that I brought up last week. If you guys remember, for the TNA show at WrestleCon, there was supposed to be a King of the Mountain match for the world title. It now is very clear that this TNA championship was actually going to be the title up for grabs for the King of the Mountain match, and Moose was going to win that, and that's how he would walk around with the belt. Now they have to say, okay, well, they brought it out for the TNA show, he pulled it out, and he took it out of a box, and whatever. But he's got it now, and this to me is the most compelling part of the programming. I was proud of Impact this time because they didn't focus. They said the TNA numbers were good. Ben Hameen said on the Impact Attack show, I think that's the name of their show, that he has that under pretty good authority that Impact is doing about 200 to 300,000 viewers per show on Access TV. Now, if you remember at Pop TV, the 300K was pretty accurate. That for the most part, that's kind of where they were at, give or take. Sometimes they had a really good week, so it was 320. Now, some people say, okay, that's not a lot of people. That actually is a lot of people. But if you're comparing it to, for pro wrestling, it actually is. But if you're comparing it to, obviously, NXT and AEW and shit like that, obviously those guys are doing damn near 1 million, and the WWE's always doing over 1 million. So, or a couple million, whatever it is. But, I've always said, these companies, Ring of Honor, Lucha Underground, MLW, they've never done viewers like that. And NWA's in that ballpark. The difference is they're on YouTube. So, if someone watches the show, only watches a couple of matches, and then comes back later in the day or the next day to watch it, now they've become 2 views. You know what I mean? So those numbers are a little bit skewed. Just like, I'm a YouTuber. I know numbers are skewed because some people, when I put a podcast, I know that, if there's 700 viewers, I know that some of them, watched a portion of it earlier in the day or the day previous and came back. Like, I know that happens. But if that's the case, those are pretty decent numbers. And then apparently the TNA show did even better than that. So does that mean it did another 50,000, did another 100,000? Maybe it just maintained the audience from previous? I don't know. Now, when I go back to what I say about going all in, that TNA show was really just something they threw out. It was like basically like a Twitch show or an Impact Plus show that they put on television. That's how I looked at it. And I've been saying for as long as I can remember, put some effort into these Twitch shows, put some effort into these monthly shows. And I really feel like they may have, I don't want to say they dropped the ball, but because they didn't drop the ball. But I feel like they could have gone in harder on this show. Now, you're not going to bring in AJ and Samoa, but it's difficult when you put on a show and you're showing us clips of AJ and Samoa Joe, and then you bring out Johnny Swinger, and you bring out guys like Kid Cash who are losing in 3 minutes. You know what I mean? And when your biggest name on there is Hernandez, you know, I think everyone liked the Manic and Suicide thing. You know, something different, something fun, whatever. But I think if Impact could go back, they would say, man, I wish we went in a little harder on this show. I wish we would have found, you know, because remember the knockouts were the highest rated, you know, parts of the show at one time. So I think they would say, man, I wish we could go back, get some of these women and come in and have some kind of, you know, knockouts action instead of just a knockouts video package. You know, what if we had a really good knockouts match for this? And then obviously you get that Rhino and Fulton match at the end, which Fulton's not a part of TNA. So, you know, I think if Impact could go back, they would have said this was our opportunity to really, boom, hit him with something different. And that's why I've always preached, like, just do it. You know, don't do it halfway. Don't do it half-ass. Just freaking do it, because you never know how something is going to be received. When you try to make viral content, the content usually doesn't end up being viral. And I think that Impact has done that quite a bit, where they say, okay, we're going to try to create something viral. We're going to kind of try to force it on you a little bit, but it just doesn't work. That's just not how it works. You know, I know that in YouTubing and social media, that's just not how it works. And, you know, if you're a Facebook friend of mine, you know that I do photo edits. So if you're looking right here, it says BQ Speaks. That actually, Facebook, I shouldn't have had that on there, because I actually changed that to BQ Got Edits. But that's my photo edit page. It has nothing to do with wrestling. It's something where I have fun doing photo editing with Crying Jordan and R. Kelly and Denzel and things like that. So I have fun with photo edits. And sometimes I have photos that I'm like, dude, this is the one that's going to, man, people are going to share the shit out of this. It's going to blow my page up. You know, everyone's going to like it. And I post it and it'll have like 5 likes, you know, and then I'll do one that I thought was, you know, okay or whatever. And that's the one that freaking takes off. And I'm going to give you even a different example. When I first started the YouTube channel, my first serious video, now I had done a few uploads here and there. My first serious one was me talking about when Impact was doing the house shows again. Finally, you know what I mean, under Jeff Jarrett. And they had gotten Taya, they got John Hennigan, and there was also a rumor about them trying to sign Rey Mysterio. So I make this graphic, and it's got all sorts of people on it. It's got John Hennigan, it's got Taya, it's got Rey Mysterio. I think it might have one or two other people on there. So I do this upload. You know, my microphone settings aren't that good. The upload is noisy. I wasn't prepared for it at all. I just hit record and recorded something for 13 minutes, and then I shut it off. And, you know, at this time, the channel probably had 600 subscribers. You know, it wasn't monetized. It wasn't, you know. And, no, you know what? Actually, I think it was, it was about 600. So I put out this upload. This upload ends up doing 13,000 hits in a week. And subscribers are pouring in. And then I exceed the 1,000 subscriber mark. You know, and that video actually kicked off this channel for the most part, as far as, you know, really getting traffic, because honestly, I just got lucky. I posted something that people cared about, wanted to hear about, and it ended up taking off. It wasn't something that I was like, okay, I'm going to try to make some viral content. Like, this shit really took off, and it brought in all sorts of subscribers and kicked off this channel. If I could go back and to this day, that's like my 3rd or 4th highest video. if I could go back and be like, fuck, man, I wish I would have had a clear call to action. My mic sounded good. I had a script ahead of time, maybe did a little research. If I could go back and do that, it would have, gone through the roof. So that's why I say, I really think if Impact could go back, they'd be like, man, we would have delivered that show even better. But I kind of got off on a tangent, but what I want to say, I'm proud of Impact because with this show, they didn't start TNAing it to death. That's what I was concerned with. That when they said, okay, well, the numbers were a lot better because of the TNA show, I was worried they're going to TNA us to death. And they really didn't, we get this Moose segment and he's, that's when they start talking about TNA. And he's doing excellent work with this. They said that there's going to be a world title tournament. Now, if I would have done this, if this was, BQ come do social media marketing for us, I actually would have had Tessa Blanchard announce this tournament. I would have had her show the graphic with a bunch of question marks and one by one throughout the day or throughout the week announce who was going to be the matches. But I wouldn't have done the actual matches. I would have done one wrestler at a time, but I would have skipped brackets. I would have had some fun with it. I think it would have got more traction because she has a very highly engaged Twitter. So anyway, there's going to be a world title tournament. Before we get into Moose's response, let's talk about the matches real quick. The first match announces Moose versus Trey, and then Sammy versus Elgin. So the only problem I have with this tournament, if you look at the left side of the bracket, how are you going to put Moose, Sammy, and Elgin, the three best wrestlers and biggest stars in that tournament, how are you going to put them in the same bracket? The same side of the bracket, I should say. Clearly, whoever wins that side of the bracket is going to win the tournament. That was not well done. When you do a tournament, you're supposed to have seating that makes sense. The seating and these matches make no sense. But I don't want to be too negative because we have been begging for a tournament or for something to make the number one contendership matter. Now, NWA has had a successful tournament. AEW is in the middle of a successful tournament. So I'm sure Impact was like, okay, let's do this tournament thing. So on the other side is Shamrock versus Rhino. I mean, if you want to watch that match, more power to you. And then Hernandez versus Madman Fulton on the other side. So two big dudes. And they're trying to push Hernandez a little bit as a main event guy. So you don't have a guy on that side of the bracket who's going to challenge for the world title against Tessa Blanchard, I assure you. Now, could they, I shouldn't say that. There's probably the possibility that Shamrock could win this thing. But where I think this is ultimately going is Shamrock versus Sammy Part 2. I say Part 2, it's really Part 3 because they have wrestled before, but I'm going to say 95% sure that's where this is going. So you kind of taking a cool concept if that's the case and doing something that, does anyone care? Moose has pulled himself out of this tournament. He said, I already have the number one title. And man, that just adds so much to his gimmick, because they could have pushed, I just want both belts. I want gold. He's making it sound like I don't even care about that title. And that's preposterous that he has this TNA title. Excuse me real quick, guys. Has this TNA title that is not an active championship. That's preposterous to say that I don't want to wrestle for the Impact World Championship. So, Moose is right now the best character on this show. I don't care. I don't care what any of you guys say. I'm right. So Moose takes himself out of the tournament. And I'm going to fast forward here a little bit, but Rohit Raju is going to be his replacement. So we're going to get a really good match between Rohit Raju and Trey. The problem is That now makes Rohit Raju like the number 1 seed and Trey the one, two, number 4 seed on that side, or number 8 seed, however you want to look at it. That's what I'm saying. The seeding is off the way they're doing it, but whatever. That match should be really, really good. Most likely we're going to get between Sammy and Elgin. I wouldn't waste that match on a first round. I'd rather see that as the finals. Sammy he's gonna find a way to win this match. Sorry. The weird thing about this, we're just not gonna do Tessa versus Eddie and Elgin now. We're just gonna say, oh, it was supposed to happen in Rebellion, so now it's not gonna happen. So that's one thing that's a little bit odd. But I do think Sammy wins that match. I think he ends up. What's weird is we got 3 heels on that side too. So I think Sammy's gonna win the match, and then I think he's gonna beat Rohit. I think Rohit beats Trey. Someone brought up to me, are they going babyface with Sami Callihan? Is it possible that that's where they're going? It would make the seeding, the matchups make sense. And he almost shook hands with Ken Shamrock, don't forget. So that's something to keep an eye on. And then Shamrock versus Rhino. I don't think anyone wants to see that, but Shamrock will win. And then Fulton versus Hernandez. My money is probably, smart money is probably on Hernandez, but I don't think they're going to do babyface versus babyface there. So I think we're going to get Shamrock versus Fulton, because OVE has to do something. They have to. Maybe this is where we get the next step in OVE. Who knows? But they got to do something. So I say Shamrock beats Fulton, and then Shamrock meets Sammy in the finals. I would rather get the Elgin match first. I mean, it seems like they're just going to continue to piss Elgin off on screen. You know what I'm saying? But we'll see what happens. Next match, and this was not a good night of wrestling, guys. Joseph P. Ryan versus Cousin Jake. This is an empty arena match. So Joseph P. Ryan stalling, and that builds heat when there's a crowd, but when there's no one there, let's just get to the action. I didn't have interest in this because they've already had, he already lost, so Joseph P. Ryan already lost to Cody Deaner, and then he beat Cousin Jake. I didn't want them to wrestle again because for me, the next match has to be the tag team match, and that I have interest in. So in this situation, I was like, dude, Cousin Jake's going to lose again. He has to. And he got a handful of tights and all that. I get it. It was a heel victory, but it was probably for me an unnecessary match that needed to happen in this whole feud. I would have rather Joey Ryan wrestled someone else and won the match, or excuse me again, or Cousin Jake wrestle somebody and win. Cody Deaner's in quarantine. As I said, I believe he lives in Canada, but Cousin Jake lives in the States. I believe so. So I would have just liked to see, I'm okay with those guys. I like both guys. I would have just liked to see them get separate wins, maybe build up both their brands, both their teams up a little bit, and then lead to some kind of clash with the Deaners and cancel culture. That's just what I would have much preferred. But yes, Joey Ryan wins this match. I really enjoy the Kiera Hogan video package. If you heard me on the podcast last week, I had said that AEW from a couple weeks ago, and some people think I love AEW. I just watch AEW and like AEW. I don't love AEW because I'm not fans of guys like the Bucks and Omega or the style of wrestling. But the episode itself, I said last week, was perfect. From top to bottom, everything they did mattered. And, they had done a little video package on Scorpio Sky. And, I said it throughout the whole episode, actually. But, that Scorpio Sky video package, I was saying Impact can do this stuff. They can make every part of a show matter. So I was giving props to AEW for delivering what I thought was a really perfect episode. But it wasn't stuff that because they have money and because Khan gives them an open checkbook or a blank check. You know what I mean? This was stuff Impact can do. And I feel like they did that with this Kiera Hogan video package. She has kind of said she's taking a break. She's F this, kiss her ass. Many of you probably volunteer to do that. So I like that. I like keeping Kiera present. And what they did here was really good. What was not really good was the North versus the Creeps. Some of you may have liked this and found it funny. My problem was they didn't really promote anything for this show that made people want to tune in. If you think about the matches they had they didn't promote anything anyone cared about. I think they assumed this was the fallback from Rebellion, so people were gonna care about the episode. I didn't even know when I turned on the show tonight. I didn't even know what was gonna be on. I had no clue. I just knew that the North was doing an open challenge, basically in Canada. Lewis, I know he's going to go off on this on his podcast, so I'm not going to talk about it too much, but Lewis did a whole podcast where, speculating who could challenge the North. This to me was a major missed opportunity to just have a good match and showcase some people from Canada. Just have a good old-fashioned tag team match. But they did a comedy thing. Now, Ethan Page is funny. I've been praising Ethan Page lately on social media. I've been saying he needs to run Impact's Twitter. I think he needs to run their Facebook, their YouTube, their Instagram. And I don't mean he should run them. Like, obviously, he doesn't have time to run them. But I think he should be the creative person and the creative mind behind that. Because when it comes to content online, look at his Facebook right now or his Twitter. Like, this guy has so many ideas of engaging with people and of ways of, coming up with new ways of streaming online or different kinds of content to stream. Like, this guy, he gets it, folks. And, what part of my podcast compared to other people is that I'm always focusing on marketing and social media. Like, he gets it. Look at what he's doing on his social media. This dude did a virtual seminar the other day. A virtual seminar. I mean, he gets it. He gets it. I'm going to keep saying it. Compare his social media to Impact's social media. But this here, I was just looking forward to a good. I guess because there wasn't really any good wrestling in this match. I mean, I don't want to say good wrestling, not good wrestling, because everyone on the Impact Wrestler is talented, but we didn't get like that really, really good match. They were, they might have been telling us some kind of story, but we didn't get like this great killer match. And then I'm thinking, okay, well, the North is going to do something. And the North, much like Moose, is absolute gold with just about everything they do. What saved this from being absolutely horrendous was that Josh Alexander was very serious in the whole thing. He was giving us a dynamic that brought us home a little bit, kept us grounded. But I thought Iceman was over the top, and I'm sure some people found that very funny behind the scenes. I just didn't, just because I was expecting something better. I was expecting a good match. Yeah, I thought it was just a missed opportunity to try out a team from Canada. You know what I mean? But, clearly these guys had fun doing it, so I don't want to knock it too much. It was just for me, and many of you probably did like this. I just didn't. I don't think anything on this show was must-see except maybe the main event. But Impact is going to release their top 5 must-see segments. I don't even know how you could put 5 together with this episode, really, just because it wasn't a bad episode, but it's just there was nothing newsworthy. Josh Matthews actually said at the end of the episode, this newsworthy episode of Impact Wrestling. I laughed out loud because there was nothing for me newsworthy on this. Like, it didn't, with the exception of the tournament, like, what happened really, you know what I mean? But usually when a segment like this happens with a team where they have some kind of joke match, it usually leads to something pretty spectacular after and something pretty big. In the North, they're amazing wrestlers, amazing talents, amazing champions. And I really, from the depths of my heart, feel Ethan Page would make an excellent world champion. I think you can put the world title on him. It's not like Josh Alexander where you're kind of like, oh, he has the potential to one day be the world champion. Like, you could have Ethan Page beat Tessa Blanchard tomorrow, put on the title, and he's going to be an amazing champion. He's going to cut the best promos. He's going to take us back to like that EC3 shit, you know? So I really hope we get that run. But this whole thing with the creeps, it's kind of a cinematic thing. I was pretty disappointed with it. I know Lewis is going to go off on it. Rosemary has a segment reading tarot cards. This was very long. To me, this was a good like 3 minutes. Maybe it just felt like, maybe it wasn't even 3 minutes long. It felt like it was about 5 minutes long. It was a couple minutes too long for me. And it didn't lead to anything. I was hoping someone was going to enter. I was, in a perfect world, another knockout would have came in or something, another new knockout, but you guys already know I'm a little up in the air on this Rosemary stuff because I don't understand what they're doing. Rohit says that he is stepping into that world title tournament. Cuts a really good, real excellent promo. Now, we just conducted an interview with Rohit Raju here on the channel. If you look at the uploads, there's one where we discussed, Lewis did this podcast and this interview, but you're going to see where he discusses Ethan Page saying that Impact, I'm sorry, drew a blank for a second. He discusses Ethan Page saying he's still getting paid for some of his work, or he's getting full-time pay for part-time segments he's doing. And then he does a really good interview with Rohit Raju. So you want to check that out. He even addresses a article that came out not too long ago, misquoting him, saying that he feels Impact Wrestling is holding him back. So you definitely want to check out the interview. It's the last upload besides this podcast that you are listening to. The Rohit, before I move on, the Rohit promo, this is, if you're not familiar with Hakeem Zayn and what got him to Impact Wrestling, you got a taste of it here. He's one of the best promos, natural promos. When he said, "My mom calls me son because I shine like one," that's his indie shit. It almost seems like he's breaking off the Desi Hit Squad a little bit. He keeps saying, "I'm putting them first. Now I'm putting me first. There's no one here to stop me from making this decision." So he puts himself in this tournament. He is on the verge of breaking out, folks. It's funny because even though he quoted, well, this article said they're holding him back, Impact actually is holding him back. Creatively, he's been held back for a while. He's been the constant in the Daisy Hit Squad. They are holding him back. Trust me, folks. Like, when they decide, okay, we're going to let this guy go, we're going to trust him with a microphone, we're going to trust him in the ring, wait till you guys see what he's capable of. The background music, they did in the background of him talking, and when they come back from commercial, this music sucks and it's too loud. I can't wait for them to find something different. It is so amateur. It's something I would do on the channel here as an amateur YouTuber, put some music in the background, which I have done many times before. It sounds so freaking bad. It took away from just the passion in his promo, the passion in his voice, because you have this cheesy music in the background. Just give us the silence so that we can have tunnel vision and just focus on what he has to say. But guys, Rohit Raju is on a collision course to the top. He is on the verge of breaking out. They let us know that next week we're going to get Havoc versus Kimberly. Looking forward to that one. And we're getting Moose versus Suicide. I think he's defending the TNA World Championship. So that should be a good one as well. Suicide and Moose were supposed to have a match at Lockdown. So we're getting it now. So main event time. We get... So I did miss a portion. I guess I looked over my notes, but Ace Austin inserts himself into this match. So now we're getting Willie Mack versus Chris Bay versus Ace Austin for the X Division Championship. You guys know I'm not a big fan of multi-man matches because, I use this example with the world title. I would have rather seen Tessa Blanchard have a good feud with Michael Elgin or Eddie Edwards. And if she beats that guy, move on to the next one. And now you're making the world title scene so much more interesting because we're getting fresh feud. But when you start saying, okay, we're going to have this a 3-way, a 4-way, and everyone's wrestling and they're getting, it just becomes like, okay, I don't really have as much interest in this now because I've already kind of seen it. They're kind of giving me parts of the match. So I don't like these multi-man matches. So with this, I would have much more liked if I would have much more liked. I don't know if that makes sense. I would have enjoyed more if Mac took on Chris Bay in the main event by him one-on-one. Have some faith in your guys to close out the show. You know, Ace Austin's had a couple main event matches, so you're like, okay, well, we have to have Ace, and they're like, you don't. Just let Chris Bay versus Willie Mack main event the show. See what happens. Maybe they put on an incredible match, because once you start adding people to it, it's the match isn't as good anymore. I would have rather seen Willie Mack face one of these guys, even if he had a match with Ace Austin again. And then maybe later, I mean, you didn't even say Chris Bay was the number one contender. So wait a week, wait a couple weeks, and then insert him in, you know? But it seems like they want to use Chris Bay. This match was the only match. If I had to tell someone, watch this episode of Impact Wrestling, this is the only match worth watching on this whole thing. Doesn't mean the other matches were bad. They just told different kinds of stories. A couple of them I didn't have interest in, but they weren't bad matches. You know, I thought OVE and with Triple XL was a great match. It's just that I'm so checked out because OVE is always going to lose that it's a little hard for me to, to really get into it. But I'd probably say that opening tag match, actually, hey, check out this match. Because as I keep saying, I'm a Larry D guy. But this one here, I did enjoy it. I thought it was a good X Division 3-way match. I would have just much rather seen, something one-on-one. And then when they're done with that person, move on to the next. And this is a formula that used to work back in the day when I grew up and I was a kid. I was a teenager, and I understand that wrestling has changed. But you had a guy like, Mr. Perfect, who had the Intercontinental title forever. And he just moved on to different challengers, and one by one he would beat them until he eventually lost to Bret Hart. He didn't go have a triple threat with the Big Boss Man and Hacksaw and Bret Hart. No, he just beat the guys, focused on one feud at a time, and it just keeps things fresh. And that's where, like with WWE, they can't make a fresh match because they have so many people. Oh, we got to get everyone on the card. We got to get everyone in the match. And then where's the excitement when the match happens at the pay-per-view? It feels like we've already seen it. So if you just focus on, cutting down the multi-man. I mean, they're doing it with the tag team divisions too. Like instead of just having Reno Scum feud with the Rascals, okay, let's have 4 teams fight each other. Just give us a couple of tag team matches that episode. Like, let stuff breathe. You feel me? That is it for me tonight. I'm your boy BQ. I hope this the stream was enjoyable for you. And I'm going to be doing some solo streams here and there going forward. And once we get everything kind of fixed, myself and TW will be streaming. I don't know if it's going to be after Impact. It might be on Wednesdays. That's usually, we're both fathers, we're both parents, and it's a little difficult for us to get it done early in the evening, and Tuesdays are not really easy for us because when you got kids and you got other factors like that, you're not necessarily able to watch the show when it airs or you're behind, so Wednesday is what we're probably shooting for. And because I have this new schedule where I'm going to be working overnights, and I'm only going to be working, I only work 3 to 4 nights a week. I'm going to have a lot more opportunities to just make this channel better for you guys. I'm going to start getting in on some interviews again myself. And my interviews, they're going to look like right now. It probably won't be a stream, but you're going to see my face, and then where you see Moose, I might have a picture of the wrestler I'm talking to or something like that. And I have interviewed Adam Thornstowe before, but I'm going to have him on the show again. Dave Christ, I'm going to have, which I'm really excited about that one. And Johnny Bravo, excited about that one because we're going to talk Taya, Johnny Impact, Gut Check, some really good shit with that one. And I always feel my interviews are pretty good because I don't interview someone who I haven't built some kind of relationship with already. Sometimes I bring a wrestler on and I kind of consider him a friend, or have some kind of rapport with them. You know what I mean? I like to be able to exchange a few messages back and forth, and BS a little bit instead of just, hey, can you come on my podcast? Because then it just becomes a Q&A. But I want it to be good conversation and everything. So I'm going to get back in that game here pretty soon. But again, you guys are going to see some of these solo streams, and then you're going to see TW come on, and we're going to deliver these shows, and just good things coming with the Impact Lounge, with Lewis as well. And we're going to continue to do tremendous things for Impact Wrestling, because this is the number one place to be for the Impact Wrestling fan. Thank you so much for checking out the stream, and I will talk to you guys soon. Peace.